Hey there, everybody! Andy here from Legendary Tales, and welcome back to Tales of Legend, a tabletop role-playing game for your worlds, your heroes, and your stories. In this video, we're going to continue filling out our hero sheet that we started in our last video. If you haven't seen that, I highly recommend it. However, if you are in the future and just need a refresher on how to fill out and use the second page of the hero sheet, which involves combat, this makes an excellent standalone video. Thanks for joining in. Now let's begin. Okay, so when we last left off with Andy's first hero, we filled out the first and third page of the hero sheet. But we stopped short of using the list of aspect bonuses to modify our hero. That's because we really need a baseline first. So let's go with the second page. Whenever you find yourself in a dangerous scenario where a fight breaks out, this is the page you want. We will start at the top left here. These four sections are the most important. We have our resolve, speed, physical defense, and mental defense. We can start with a few assumptions here. A hero's base defenses are always 10. So I will put a 10 in both physical defense and mental defense. And a character's base speed is always 25. I'll record that here too. By the way, similar to many tabletop games, speed is measured in feet. By taking a move action, you can move up to 25 feet on your turn. If you're playing on a grid, that's 5 feet per square, or 5 squares for a move action. Now, what about resolve? Resolve works like hit points. As long as you have resolve, you are able to dodge, block, parry, or sustain any damage. However, each time you take damage, your resolve will dwindle. This is flavored as you getting demoralized and exhausted during combat. When a source of damage reduces your resolve to 0, that source of damage deals you a mortal blow and you collapse, dying. We calculate our resolve this way. We automatically gain 5 resolve per level. Since we are level 1, we begin with 5 resolve. We also gain 3 resolve for each aspect point we gain at that level. We gained 4 aspect points at level 1, so that means we have an additional 12 resolve for a grand total of 17 resolve at level 1. Now, this is where we need to talk about the benefits of each aspect score. When you place a point in an aspect, each aspect grants you certain benefits. Let's go in order. When you take a point in physicality, your melee weapon attack damage increases by 1, but more importantly for now, instead of 3 resolve, you gain 6 resolve instead. So more physicality means more resolve. When you take a point in grace, your weapon attack accuracy rolls increase by 1. But also your speed increases by 5 feet. This is important for us. Since we have 3 grace, that means we get an additional 15 speed. So instead of 25, our speed is now 40. That's fantastic. And it helps distinguish high grace heroes from other kinds of heroes. When you take a point in focus, your mental defense increases by 1. Focus also affects your modifiers when engaging with the magic system for Tales of Legend. We will discuss that more in the future. We actually already discussed skill in our previous video. Every time we level up, after distributing any aspect points, we gain a number of skill points equal to our skill score. That's why we have 1 skill point right now, which we put into detect in our last video. We don't have to worry about any affinities or aversions at this level, especially with a non-magical hero. We will go over these in more detail when we talk about damage properties in a future video. Senses. Now, different heritages might have special senses, such as Darksight, but as a mortal, we don't have to worry about that. What we do have, though, is a passive detection score. Everyone has this. Normally, the score is 10, being the average of a d20 roll. So if the Legend Master is trying to do something sneaky, they will determine if the sneaky action is better than your passive 10 to see if they get by your hero or not. However, since we have 1 skill point in detection, we actually get to add 1 to our passive as well. So we actually will notice anything sneaky going on under 11. Now we get to talk about actions in Tales of Legend. Over here on the right, you have a number of action points on your turn. At level 1, you have 2 action points. So I'm just going to record that here. Whenever it is my turn in combat, I can expend 1 of my action points to take 1 of 10 actions listed below. We will go over all of these actions in more detail in a future video, but for now, let's talk about movement and attacking. When I expend an action point on the move action, I can move up to 40 feet in my turn. That's 8 spaces on a grid. When I take the attack action, I will make an accuracy roll against a foe. If my total meets or exceeds the physical defense of the foe, I hit and I can roll damage. Don't worry, we will go over the combat in more detail soon. You'll notice that you also have a set of 10 free actions as well. At level 1, you have 2 action points, and those increase as you gain levels. But you also have 1 free action every turn. This never increases. These are smaller actions that heroes often need to take during combat. The most commonly used free action is the step free action. This allows you to move 5 feet or 1 square without expending an action point on movement. The rest of the action and free action descriptions can be found on page 13 and 14 of the free rules sample. We don't need to worry about status effects or trigger actions right now. Combat at level 1 tends to be more simple, but we should have weapons. If I look at my gear, I have a heavy bow and a small weapon. So let's record those as combat options on page 2. Now, small weapon sounds silly. In Tales of Legend, we don't care what your weapon is, we only care about what it does. According to page 21, small weapons deal 1d4 damage and can be thrown up to 50 feet. A dagger makes sense to me, so we will call it a dagger. Accuracy. Accuracy is determined by your grace score, so when I make an accuracy roll with my dagger, I roll 1d20 plus my grace score, which in this case is 3. For damage, a small weapon deals 1d4 damage. Now, if I had any points in physicality, the damage would increase. But for now, it's just 1d4 as my physicality is 0. Finally, we have property. The damage property of a dagger is going to be stab. There are a total of 10 damage properties, but stab is what makes sense for a dagger. Also, I'm going to make a note that I can throw my dagger 50 feet. You never know when you might need that information. Now, for our second combat option, let's add our heavy bow. According to the rules on page 22, a heavy bow deals 2d4 stab damage and has a range of 200 feet. That's handy. So I will record 1d20 plus 3 for accuracy, 2d4 for damage, and stab, and 200 feet of range. Now I'm ready to fight. But we have one more thing we have to do before this character is complete. Remember those aspect bonuses we picked at the end of our last video? It's time to apply those bonuses to our hero sheet. Let's start with Agile Fighter. According to this bonus, I get to add my aptitude die to small and light weapons. Not only that, I get to add my grace score to the damage of small and light weapons instead of physicality. Wait, our dagger is a small weapon. So, I'm going to go to my dagger and adjust the accuracy and damage. Now, my accuracy will be d20 plus 1d4 plus 3, since my aptitude die is currently a 1d4. And my damage will be 1d4 plus 3, with 3 being my grace score. Not bad. The next bonus I have is called Dodge. I gain a +1 bonus to my physical defense. Not only that, but if I'm not wearing armor, I get to add my grace score to my physical defense. So, let's go to our physical defense. A +1 would make it 11. And we have 3 grace, so that gives us a total of 14 physical defense without needing to buy any armor. That's pretty good. Our next aspect bonus is called Ranged Fighter. Considering my hero concept, I think this is the most important. I add aptitude to my accuracy rolls with ranged weapons, and I add my grace score to the damage instead of physicality. This is just like the Agile Fighter bonus, except for ranged weapons. So, when I go back to my combat options, I need to modify my heavy bow. My accuracy will now be d20 plus 1d4 plus 3, and my damage will be 2d4 plus 3. One last note about bows before we go to the last aspect bonus. Unlike crossbows, which tend to do more damage, bows have the ability to recover spent arrows. You can recover half the arrows you use during a combat scenario, so if I shot 8 arrows, I get 4 back at the end of combat. I might want to make a note of that too. Last but not least, we need to take an aspect bonus in skill. An incredibly good universal skill bonus is called Experienced. It allows you to gain aptitude in 2 of the 7 skills on the skill list. Considering that I'm a hunter, I think the 2 skills I'd like to be good at are Detect and Wilderness, so I will add 1d4 in the aptitude blank on both of those. Now, whenever the Legend Master asks me to make a Detect or Wilderness roll, I get to add my 1d4 aptitude die to my d20 roll. This also means I need to adjust my passive detection. I'll add the average of my 1d4 aptitude die, which is 2, so now my passive detection isn't just 10 or 11, it's 13. That will be very useful for spotting dangers in the wilderness. And now we have our first completed level 1 hero ready to go. In future videos, I'll be building different types of heroes, but first, I think it's important that we take Andy's first hero here on a little journey. Our next video will start a new series called How to Play, and in our first video in the series, we will be covering aspect roles. I hope you will join me for that next video. If you're enjoying these tutorials, please consider liking and subscribing to the channel, taking a look at our website at legendarytalesrpg.com, and joining our Discord server. I'd love to talk more and maybe organize a one-shot with you. I hope to see you in the next video. Have a wonderful day, everybody.